I believe I have made my point. I have no more questions for this witness, Your Honor. Then we can move on to the next item on the docket. Looks like Emma wants to introduce some new evidence. I call Sarah to the stand. The android? Could she even do that? Approach, Your Honor. Oh, you're approaching me? I believe that it's me they wanted to speak with. I didn't even get to finish my line. Now then. What the hell are you doing, Rockford? Took the words right out of my mouth. I have questions for the android. This seemed like the best way to get answers. You can't call an android as a witness. It's not a person. There's plenty of precedent for it. Ads provide testimony all the time. Not when they're on trial. Sarah isn't on trial. You are. Sarah's accused of being an AI. That means you don't trust a word out of its mouth. If the witness isn't to be trusted, the court can decide that for itself after hearing their testimony. Why the ambush? Why'd you list this as entering evidence, D.A. Rockford? Only people can be witnesses, Your Honor, and ads don't have legal personhood. Evidence seemed like the best word, worse to scripture. You know I can't make an android swear an oath. Rockford is just trying to spoil your opinion, Your Honor. The more this court treats Sarah like a person, the more you'll see her as human. And the weaker my case becomes in your eyes. Nice try, Counselor. But we don't have to worry about my impartiality. You're free to call for a mistrial if you want, but the state will have turned Sarah out to slag before you even finish signing your motion. Rockford's calling a witness that is blatantly hostile to her case. If the witness is hostile, so be it. It did kill a man, after all. Allegedly. Shit. What about the right to avoid self-incrimination? Who's the one treating Sarah like a person now? Androids don't have rights. Damn it, that's... The android will take the stand. Your Honor, I've made my decision. And if Sarah refuses to take the stand, are you going to charge it with contempt of court? If the machine won't talk, you'll make every effort as its owner to ensure that it does. And if it disobeys you, then we'll have our answer about its sentience right then and there. Yes, Your Honor. Shit. What's going on? The DA is going to question you on the stand. What? But I shouldn't. Listen to me. You don't have a choice right now. This is happening. Tell the truth, but be concise. The more robotic, the better. Yes or no's only, if you can. Would using an affirmative or negative be laying it on too thick? But Adonai, if I make a mistake, all these people, they want to destroy me. If you make a mistake, your lawyer will just have to cover for you. Understand? Yes. You are the android identified as Sarah, correct? Affirmative. Do you deny that this camera footage shows you handling the poison cup? Objection. It remains to be seen whether the cup itself was definitely poisoned. Yes, yes. Sarah, do you deny handing that cup to David Asher? Negative. I have no memory of the incident, so I can neither confirm nor deny it. Do you have any reasoning, any excuse for your actions, for failing to notify police of crucial information? I do not have any records from that day, so I never had anything to tell anyone. Very well, Counselor. The journal, if you will. This could be a slaughter. Of course. Do you recognize this item? It's a journal that belongs to Dr. David Asher. I have seen him write in it on many occasions. And have you any knowledge of its contents? You don't have to answer that, actually. Tell the court what you see here in this footage. I see myself reading the journal in the basement. This footage was captured on Friday, the day you claim you have no memory of. So regardless of what you do or don't remember, we know that you read this journal hours before David Asher died. That is logical. I'd like you to read some passages from it for the court. Can you do that? Of course. Page 238, the 10th line. Sarah is growing faster than I ever expected, beyond my wildest dreams or fears. Today she... Continue, please. Today she broke every password I have in the house. Said she was curious. I can't expect to keep things from her forever. Page 251, line 12. I've gravely underestimated the scope of things. Sarah could change everything, and I don't think I could stop her. He wasn't. Page 263. Damn it. If this keeps up, Sarah's gonna fall to pieces up there. Come on, guide. I don't have a leg to stand on here, and Sarah doesn't have a shred of legal protection to speak of. I have to just let this play out. Page 263, I said. Just a second, folks. I think Sarah was angry today. When I came back from work, she had ripped the Zen alloy plate in half. She said she was testing her strength, but the cameras... That was... Page 267. Sarah scared me today. If she starts bawling on the stand, it's all over. Your Honor. I fail to see the value in continuing this line of questioning. Dr. Asher was wary of a highly experimental android he was building, as any good scientist would be. That's been established. Do the people have a counter-argument? I have just one last question, if it pleases the court. Let's hear it. This footage was captured in the basement on Friday at around 5:30 p.m. Tell the court what you see. I see myself standing where I was when I read the journal. I'm speaking to someone who's off camera, and I appear agitated, and I stomp my foot. And what happens to the floor after you stomp your foot? A large crack is made in the vulcanized polymer, and I walk off camera towards whomever I had been speaking to. Speaking or shouting. Asked and answered. Not really, but I'll withdraw the comment nonetheless. Your witness, counselor, or evidence if you prefer. Damn, I knew she could cherry pick all the worst passages from the journal, but still, if Barrows wasn't wavering before, should I try to have Sarah read the mushy parts? No, the water books would start after only a few lines. Emma went to all that trouble to show how emotionally developed Sarah is, proving that she loved David like a father would be playing right into her hand. What do you say, counselor? Got some burning cues for the android to answer? Yes, Your Honor. Just one moment. Emma went for emotion, and the impact was devastating, so all I can do is focus on the facts. So let's flip this around. Say Sarah absolutely didn't poison David. If that's the case, why did she call him back on his way out of the basement? Wait, I'd actually like to ask you to read from the journal again, Sarah. You... what? From where? From the section that explains what you were actually trying to do that night. The section of his journal detailing. Look around the early section. There should be an entry talking about an early victory at Noble. Relevance. The people will see in just a moment. That this story is the key to this entire case. Got approval from overseas. Have to make a pitch again this week, Jung says. Brought me a stack of plastic cups. Here's to a bright future together. And then on this next page, another victory for the young and sleepless. Helen convinced the president of Futures over lunch that my code should be the basis for the Animate 13's conversational tracking. She insisted on toasting, the same crappy booze in the same cheap cups. Wants to make a tradition. Plastic cups and liquor. A ritual between Helen Young and David Asher, who were about to have a drink together Friday night. Something you want to say, counselor? Let's put all our cards on the table, shall we? You want to compare theories? If you'd rather I end this now, I'll be happy to oblige. Here's what we know. Sarah read that journal and discovered what she was. It infuriated her, and she wanted revenge for being kept under her maker's thumb. That very night, she got her chance when Dr. Asher came down looking for a drink. So like the clever little helper she is, she offered him a cup to drink out of. We're completely in agreement on all of that. So you agree that the cup was poisoned, and that Sarah's responsible for his death. Not quite. Not a bad explanation, Miss Rockford, but it is terribly complex. There's a much simpler reasoning for why Sarah did what she did. Uh-oh. The story from the journal? You're saying Sarah wasn't planning anything. She was just being considerate. That's so sweet. But I don't follow it, at all. It's actually quite simple. Sarah's not an AI. She only threw a tantrum that day because she found out she was being spied on. A realistic reaction for an android designed to be realistic. David Asher set her memory to be cleared himself because he wanted to preserve the experiment he was running. Sarah didn't hatch a plan to poison him using an obscure chemical acquired from the lab. And she didn't subtly manipulate David into drinking from only one of 2 cups. Because the android read the whole journal that day. Meaning she also read how David and Young used to celebrate. And so when she saw David was leaving the basement without the nostalgic cups, she called him back to hand them to him. Simple, right? Simple enough for me. But not nearly good enough for me. What's more likely, Miss Rockford? That a well-made, clever android proposed a sentimental addition to 2 friends' evening? Or that a homegrown AI with groundbreaking physical and digital capabilities concocted a complicated poisoning scheme? Just to kill an unimposing man. All on camera, mind you. Before voluntarily submitting to a memory wipe. People make all kinds of stupid mistakes when they commit crimes, counselor. We shouldn't expect an AI to act much differently. Is it stupid or dangerous? Can't have it both ways, Your Honor. We can if it's ignorant of its power and still immature. A deadly trait to have in an AI that's capable of anything. Shall we see what Sarah's capable of then, Your Honor? What? You can't be. Your Honor, that's... People open the door. True, and I can't resist open doors. Let's do it. What are you even... Sarah, David Asher was your creator and your designated owner, correct? Should I still be using affirmative? And now that title falls to me. Yes? Great, thank you. Now turn off. What? Shut down. That's a command. Power on. What are you? Off. On. Adonai, I don't... Off. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what this fearsome machine menace is capable of. I can put it to sleep with one word. So how could David Asher ever be threatened by it? Scary. Scary good logic. You've made your point, counselor. Let's move it along. I've no further queries for the machine, Your Honor. Thank you. For flipping you off and on? Can't imagine that was comfortable. It wasn't. But I wasn't referring to that. Since yesterday, I've been searching for an answer to why I appeared on that camera. I know I would never hurt Father, but you helped me prove that to myself just now. Adonai? Pardon me, I need to focus. Everything depends on this next witness. The people call Helen Young to the stand. Helen Young, Vice President of Android Futures at Noble Electronics Eastern Division. Miss Young, you were there the night Dr. Asher died, and you were on camera the entire time. That's correct. So what did you see that night? I arrived at 7:30 p.m., as you know. David and I talked in the parlor, then he left to retrieve some refreshments for us. After drinking together for a short while, he fell ill. I contacted emergency services, and I'm sure you're all tired of hearing the same details over and over by now. The same details over and over aren't going to hold up anymore, Madam Beat. It's still unclear to me whether Young's more concerned with protecting herself or the almighty company. But it'll clear up real fast if I can turn up the pressure on her here and now. What the fuck? I came to David's at 7:30. We chatted for a while about some low priority work, nothing heavy. Nothing heavy? You're both more professional than I realized. Since only hours earlier you had Since only hours earlier you had run a meeting in which his employment was terminated. His employment wasn't terminated at the arbitration you're referring to. His resignation was merely agreed upon. Yes, and we can all imagine how grateful he felt about the whole process. David didn't hold grudges. Our conversation wasn't about that. The fact that you had fired him that afternoon didn't come up. Asked and answered. Who initiated the meeting at his penthouse? I arrived unannounced. So you weren't invited. Very cordial indeed. If he didn't want to see me, he could have stopped me at the elevators. Could he have? Noble owned the entire building, down to the wiring. Counsel is badgering the witness, Your Honor. Huh? Right, should we execute her for that then? No need. If I can just continue my questioning, we can finally start addressing the elephant in the room. Where? I see, that was merely a joke. Hilarious. Miss Young, Noble Electronics owns a patent for and produces the synthetic biochemical known as serotonin, correct? That's correct. It's used in our warm models to facilitate integration and communication between organic and synthetic components. It's an artificial neurotransmitter? Essentially, yes. Synthetic analog serotonin was the original name. Did you bring the sample I requested to the courtroom today? I did. Serotonin is produced on site at our assembly lines as a caramel tinted solution, including water and a few non reactive organic byproducts. Your analysis, Your Honor? Working on it. It's odorless and tasteless. A solution of water and organic byproducts, you said. If that solution were ingested, most of it would look right at home in a human body. I suppose. But the serotonin would stand out, wouldn't you say? It's not a naturally occurring compound, so yes. And it's a perfect match for the substance previously labeled Delta. And the sample we collected from the manufacturer present in preset in Dr. Asher's lab? That's a bingo. The witness's brown stuff matches your brown stuff down to a T. In light of this evidence and the witness's testimony, I motion that the court formally recognizes that Dr. Asher's cause of death was serotonin poisoning. I don't object, Your Honor. But I'm afraid that I must. Excuse me? Serotonin may very well have been in his body when he died, but serotonin didn't kill Dr. Asher. What? The hell is she up to? It couldn't have. It couldn't kill anybody. What? Because it's non-toxic, of course. We designed it to affect androids, not people. Hold on, you're now claiming that Dr. Asher died of what natural causes? I can't say what he died of, I'm not a medical expert. But I can easily prove that serotonin is harmless. How could you? Like, so. Huh. Didn't see that one coming. What? What? That ain't good. Bailiff, contact the hospital immediately. I told you it's fine. But I can stand here all day if necessary. What in the? And what you just drank was several hundred times the amount found in Dr. Asher's body. Why didn't you say anything until now? Noble Electronics is a multinational corporation with patents filed all over the world. We take the protection of our trade secrets very seriously. The production and nature of serotonin is closely guarded. That guard remains up even during a murder investigation. Unfortunately. I would have been able to tell you earlier had you asked me directly. What the hell kind of... This can't be right, nothing else makes sense. Boy howdy, I'm lost as hell. But do you have any further questions, Rocky Ford? Not at the moment, Your Honor. And the defense? The prosecution's own witnesses threw the entire case into question. Normally, this would be cause for celebration, but shadow of a doubt isn't enough this time. Barrows would much rather bring the devil down early than let a potential AI walk free. What Young did was shocking, but what I need to do hasn't changed. Think this through logically. Is it really possible that Senator had nothing to do with David's death? No, that's bullshit. Can't be a coincidence. There's nothing else that would have killed him. But Young just drank Senator in front of us and she's fine, so was it fake? No, it was confirmed by the court computer to be the genuine article. So she drank poison, but it isn't showing any symptoms. Is it slow acting? If so, her grand gesture would be pointless. She'll be kept for observation regardless of what happens next. Did she take some kind of antidote beforehand? No, antidotes are developed for poisons, not industrial chemicals. David's dead, she's alive. What made the difference? Wake up. No sleeping on the job. Unless you're me. Of course, Your Honor. Allow me one moment to explain things to the court. It's confirmed just now that serotonin was the foreign compound in his body. And we all know logically that it must have been what killed David Asher. So what's the key difference between what David drank last night and what she drank in front of us just now? The difference has been staring us in the face this whole time. That's... Do you recognize this, Miss Young? That's the whiskey bottle that Dr. Ashton and I drank from. Rose River. It's a good whiskey. I think you had the right idea. Pardon? Bottoms up. Smooth. What? How did I... Dear God, counselor. Scandalous. Relax. Just whiskey, tested a dozen times over, perfectly safe. So would you like to try some, Miss Young? Don't be absurd. I'm not gonna drink on the witness stand. Have you lost your mind? I'm not asking you to get plastered. Just have a sip. After all, if we want to prove whether or not Senatonin killed Dr. Asher, we have to recreate the conditions under which he ingested it. By mixing it with alcohol. Go ahead then, just a taste. Prove to us that Senatonin is perfectly safe for human consumption. Can she do this? Miss Young? I never said it was safe for you. Yes, you did. Just said that it was non-toxic. A distinction without a difference. You saw firsthand Dr. Asher confused, slurring his speech, complaining of headache, all symptoms of poisoning. Alcohol poisoning, that is. Senatonin is a neurotransmitter analog. Maybe it doesn't do anything in the human body on its own, but its combination with alcohol, it acts as a powerful depressant. One strong enough to turn a glass or two of whiskey into a lethal overdose. That's just... Even if that is the case, what does it change? It changes whether or not we can accept the witness's testimony. Even if this witness is a liar, what does that change? Why would the witness lie if not to? She's a corporate climber. I imagine it's like breathing for her. Your Honor, this is wild, but ultimately irrelevant. Relevant? When you've yet to establish an alternative interpretation of the facts, yes. What are you even accusing the witness of doing, Counselor, beyond angling for promotion? We've all seen the story by now. Noble android saved soldier's life with warm blood transfusion. I don't want you in my lap right now, baby. They're talking about putting warm androids in the military just because of that headline. But the size of their flesh and blood price tag, a defense contract like that would secure Noble untold profits for years. So imagine the lengths they'd go to hide the fact that their androids have poison in their veins. Ellis told me the truth about what Noble really thinks of that article, but he'd never testify to it. At least I know for sure Emma's wrong about this poison blood nonsense. And you think she'd just perjure herself for that? She's a high-powered corporate executive. It's her job to assess risks versus reward. And she can afford the fine. As I said, it's not truly poisonous. And the chances of cross-contamination from a simple plasma transfusion are... Damn, now she's regained her composure too. A perjury charge is a real risk, of course, but Noble rewards loyalty. And as you know, they have a great number of lawyers. Plenty of motive to lie about Senatonin, as you can see. But no motive for her to cover up the death of Noble Electronics' golden goose. No motive to kill David Asher, you say? There's plenty of motivation for her and Noble to want David dead. Seeing as how they were firing him. Noble Electronics was kicking their golden goose out of the nest, suing him over breach of contract. Isn't that right? I don't have to talk about that. That's alright. I'll talk about it for you. Your Honor, counsel is trying to testify when they're supposed to be questioning. The people opened the door when they claimed that the witness had no motive. This is absurd. You have no idea what you're talking about. I'm sure I can speak for the whole court when I say we feel nothing but reverent awe for the complexity of Noble's legal woes. But I just so happen to have an inkling of insight into this issue, because I have here a copy of Dr. Asher's employment contract. That's confidential. It's completely improper for you to... Why? I am still technically his attorney. Criminal attorney. But I didn't just stumble across this document. I also did the one thing Noble Electronics would never expect anyone to do. I read their terms and conditions. You what? That's impossible. No one could ever. David must have negotiated well at his last performance review. This contract allows him to take his pens with him should he get fired, meaning Noble couldn't monopolize his IP once he was out. Rather than let their competitors have him, the company might have thought it best to. The company didn't poison David Asher, counselor. An individual did. And if they cared that much about controlling his intellectual property, they wouldn't fire him in the first place. Correct, they wouldn't let him go for anything less than a complete breakdown of trust. He'd have to have done something grave, something like, say, committing fraud. Just now you said there was a breach of contract, like it was some kind of technicality that was causing the split. But it was much more serious than that, wasn't it? You're claiming that the victim committed corporate fraud? Or is the evidence of that? David created the Turing solution that every one of their androids has run on to this day. And Noble reaped enormous profits capitalizing on his intellectual property. With how his contract was set up, they would have never let him go unless they absolutely had to. Then what exactly do you think David Asher did? It's not what I think that matters. Only what the company fears. Doesn't matter what I believe, not when Noble believed that David was misleading the shareholders by altering shipment data for the Animate 16. What the hell? What is this you're uploading? Shipping records? Irregularities among shipments of the Animate 16. One android swapped in for another, over and over dozens of times. The kind of thing that someone with Dr. Asher's authority could do. That kind of thing someone as smart as you couldn't have missed. Dr. Asher made Noble an untold amount of money, so why fire him over a few harmless swaps? Why elevate this to fraud? You have evidence that it was David Asher who did this? Nope, but I was the one who investigated it. So let's ask her. Come on now, let's hear it. Let's. The company investigated and found cause for serious concern. We suspected that Dr. Asher was inserting androids of unknown origin and quality into the 16th product line, introducing unpredictable elements in an extremely stable and profitable generation of androids. Why would he do that? For pride? As a practical joke? Does it really matter? He endangered the future of the company. So you prepared to fire him? Yes, I approached him as his superior and as someone he'd once worked with. I hoped to remedy the situation. Was the meeting on Friday part of those efforts? It was the culmination of those efforts. And in many ways it was a success. The dispute was resolved swiftly. It was practically friendly compared to how these discussions normally go in our world. So you brokered the meeting? Yes. You oversaw its every detail and handled all the arrangements? Yes, of course. Including the refreshments? What? Did you provide coffee, tea? No. Strange, it must have been a long meeting. Surely you at least provided water. What are you asking, counselor? That's what I want to know. Me as well. We're past the point of asking. I'm accusing. I saw this coming. Hang on. I'm itchy and hot. I need to swap clothes. Give me just a second, folks. Dr. Asher didn't have some kind of freak medical accident. He wasn't killed by some terrifying two-faced AI boogeyman. He was poisoned by this woman in the light of day at that meeting Friday afternoon. Did she really just... What do you mean poisoned at the meeting? That was hours before he showed any symptoms. As Miss Young testified and demonstrated, serotonin on its own is harmless. But it becomes pretty fatal easily. God damn it, Nose! I'm gonna rip you off. You just need to convince your victim to have a drink. You're saying he ingested poison at noon and inadvertently triggered a fatal reaction with it that night? How could you get so far ahead of yourself? There were a dozen people at that meeting, counselor. None of them wound up dead. Are you seriously claiming that they all drank poisoned water? Of course they all drank poisoned water. So why aren't they all dead? Because, as all those people will surely attest, Helen Young made sure they'd be doing paperwork for the next 12 hours. Working late into the night officiating the settlement she arranged. And not drinking alcohol. She had no guarantee about that. What if they started drinking after 6? With Noble's work-life harmony? Fat chance. These people don't clock out until they reach their bunk. Only a generational talent like David Asher could afford to relax with a drink on a Friday night. His exceptionalism singled him out as her only victim. Hold it. You're forgetting something pretty basic, counselor. If everyone at the meeting drank water from the same pitcher, any one of them would have noticed if there was serotonin in it. Serotonin is a brown fluid. Whiskey is too, so it would be easy to slip into a glass of liquor. But if she spiked the water at the meeting with it, it would have looked disgusting. There's no way she could have poisoned the water without people noticing. All of what Emma said is true, and yet Young pulled it off anyway. How? Serotonin is produced as a caramel solution. Anyone would notice if it was dropped into their water. Unless the pigment had been removed. What the hell are you talking about? Every noble factory producing warm androids has a chromofuge, a machine that gives their androids that signature pink oxidant by removing pigment from red blood. With a machine like that, it would be simple for a brilliant biochemist like the Witness to take the caramel-colored serotonin and turn it into an odorless, tasteless, invisible poison. As your honor can attest. Yes, ma'am. My scan confirmed that serotonin has no taste or odor. It's only the color that's off-putting. Surely the poisonous aspect should be considered off-poison as well. Time to press. David Asher, your oldest ally in the whole company, was sabotaged on its future for the sake of his old onesie. And he couldn't even be bothered to clue you in. No. Playing nutty professor and taking off early while you had to work around the clock just to stay relevant. He set up your crowning achievement, the most advanced, most profitable line of androids the country has ever seen. So it would blow up into the industry fiasco of the decade. And worst of all, he didn't even send a profit from it. You're wrong. You went to his house that night to watch him swallow poison, to get revenge on the man who left you in the dust. Your Honor, defense is testifying. This speculation carries no weight, and no amount of badgering will lend it any. True, we need proof. So why don't we have Miss Young take a swig of this whiskey and prove me wrong? Huh. I'm not going to do that. Because you're afraid it could kill you? Because I don't have to. She's right, counselor. Pardon? Your theory is compelling, maybe even convincing, but there's a pretty fatal flaw to it. Young was at that meeting, same as David. We can see she was drinking water with the rest of them. And of course we've seen many times that she was on camera drinking whiskey with David that night, having even finished most of her cup. So tell us, counselor, how is it that Miss Young is still standing here and David Asher is dead, if both of them had mixed alcohol with serotonin that night? That is a damn good question. Shit. As I've been saying, you're wrong about Dr. Asher's death. You're wrong about me. I don't know anything about poison or murder, and I wouldn't kill a man because he threatened the company's stock price. No. She did kill him. I can smell it on her now. She didn't just see him die, she watched him die. But then why is she still standing? There's no antidote, no trick. And that night she was on camera the entire time. No, not the entire time. She couldn't have been. There must have been one moment. When David went downstairs. This timeline leaves no window of opportunity, damn it. Maybe she didn't get sick because they got to the hospital so fast. Maybe after she arrived she could have... No, the staff would have been hyper-vigilant, afraid she was poisoned too. They wouldn't have let her out of their sight. Wait, David and Young only got there as fast as they did because of the VTOL. And the VTOL was only summoned because she used... Would you mind terribly if I changed the subject for just a moment? What? Why not? You left the parlor at 8:03 p.m. and headed into the kitchen to use the emergency console there. Yes, I did. Didn't want to use your phone? I didn't think to, no. And the emergency call went out at 8:04 p.m. The console saw you make the call through its camera. Yes, it did see me make the call because that's what happened. So what were you doing in that minute? What? That 1 minute. That 1 minute? What about that 1 minute? 1 minute or 50 seconds or even just 45 seconds. When you left Dr. Asher dying in the parlor to get to the emergency console, it took you about 1 minute to cross 5 meters. What of it? This is it, her only opportunity to do anything off camera that night. It was only a few seconds, but in that time with something at the scene, she... If my nose doesn't stop itching. Ugh, I'm sure it was a stressful time for you. After all, you had already swallowed poison back at the meet. You must have drank plenty in front of everyone to set up your alibi. Who knows how much of a toxic time bomb was swimming in your blood by the time the arbitration ended. Then at David, you downed your whiskey to perfect your alibi, having drank from the same bottle as the dead man walking. By 8:03 p.m., you had already had to watch David grow weaker and weaker, knowing all the while the same thing was happening to you, but unable to stop it without giving yourself away. Mind swimming, head dizzy. Yes, you must have been quite panicked. Then why am I standing here? Alive and well for all of us to see, having drank the exact same combination as David. Because she cheated death at the very last second. You set yourself up with bad luck, Helen Young. What? By leaving the salt shaker cap loose. I don't blame you since you were in a rush to make yourself vomit. What? You threw up? Expelling the contents of your stomach and thereby saving yourself from a fatal interaction. I can't imagine how you felt, sipping a drink you knew to be deadly, terrified that every minuscule grain of fatigue you felt could be your last. You must have come closer than anyone realized. It helped that you knew the symptoms weren't simple intoxication, but even so, you weren't kidding about managing risk versus reward. How? It was the salt shaker. You didn't screw the cap back on all the way, and I happened to bump it over. The lone glass with your fingertips in the kitchen, it could have been there for any reason. But the salt shaker gave you away. Because of one unscrewed cap. As I said, bad luck. I don't follow. Pour salt in the warm water and chug the solution. Instantly triggers the gag reflex. That's preposterous. You've got no proof of any of that. You all sounded the same. A feeble attempt at self-defense from a fatally cornered animal. The teeth are already on its neck, but the jaw hasn't quite closed. So for one moment it's all suffocating terror and sharp adrenaline, the furthest thing from peace. Until the canines come down. In summary, you're green. You were exhausted after years of living in the shadow of a man you outranked. You thought your fortunes finally shifted when you caught David manipulating company data. But even on his way out, he was more valuable to the board than you. So you decided to prove your worth by serving up his intellectual property on a silver platter. You set up an arbitration where you could control all the variables. Then you ran serotonin through the chromofuge, turned it into an invisible, odorless, tasteless poison. Purple, and then you spiked the water at the meeting, poisoning him hours before anyone could even suspect you. Brown, that evening you invited yourself to David's, taking advantage of your shared ritual to guarantee he would drink alcohol. Then, after matching him sip for sip on camera for all the world to see, he lost consciousness, and you raced to the kitchen, not to use the console, but to dump salt into a glass of water and chug it as fast as you could. Purple and pink, forcing yourself to vomit up the liquor, and cheating death in the process. That's all conjecture. You don't have a shred of evidence for any of that. Not on me. So let's go dust for fingerprints. You could explain away your prints being found on a water glass, but not on the salt shaker. Nor could you explain why we'd find traces of your DNA in the same string, or why there are minute amounts of serotonin in the blood of your entire legal team. I learned how to purge at Noble to avoid overdosing on your reds, greens, and yellows. You're part of the old guard now, Miss Young. Everyone else at the company uses inhalers. But if you want to prove me wrong about all this, that drink I offered you earlier is still on the table. Well? Any questions? You, Madam Vice President. You cold bitch. You don't understand, You're not on trial, Miss Young. Not today, so I'd strongly suggest that you stop talking. For your own sake. Miss Rockford, shall we? Yes, Your Honor. Considering the most recent evidence and testimony, we have no further reason to suspect the android Sarah in the death of Dr. Asher. We know of no other occasions upon which said android may have broken any tenets. This means it is no longer considered at risk of violating the NDSA. And so we formally withdraw our one charge of possession of contraband against the defendant, Evangeline Morgan. Does she, of all people, have to use my full name? Very well, then the charges are dropped without prejudice. I'll instruct the bailiffs to remove the collar from your android as soon as possible. Case. Sorry, is my hideous presence that distracting? I'll just go dig a hole and decompose it until I turn into a mushroom. Honestly, I love that line so much. Maybe if I was reborn as a waxy porcini, then I won't be quite so despised. Perhaps I should let the adjunct do the honors as a formality. Yes, ma'am. Case dismissed. Still here? Waiting for them to find whatever glorified bolt cutters they'll use to unlock Sarah's collar. What's your excuse? Licking your wounds? What wounds? I beat you. Bringing your record against me to 1 win, 9 losses. You aren't still in shock, are you? Dunno. Some charges were dropped and Android was cleared of suspicion, but I found the culprit. Is that really a loss for me? I won. How is that not a loss for you? Justice prevailed. Why should I care who wins? If you don't care who wins, why have you been keeping score? I haven't been. 0 losses is just that easy to remember. Well, you'll have to start up a tab first then, because our record's going to get a lot more tangled from here on out. Seems like everything's getting tangled these days. There's another crowd down on the street. More of those protesters from outside the Noble apartments. You're serious? That wasn't a one-time thing? Wouldn't that be nice? No, yesterday was pretty big, but it wasn't an isolated incident. I don't get it. At all. Heartbreak's just some nut who shot 6 people weeks ago. Can't these losers move on already? Yeah, most of them are losers. Some of them are just bored. Then there are the opportunists. Dissidents, unlisted, rebels, and terrorists. Wannabe cyberpunks who think they can fight the power like they've seen in movies. All of them peacefully united under Heartbreak's elegant political messaging. Who needs political messaging in the 21st century? Everyone's addicted to fighting straw men. Makes sense they'd want to fight for a straw man too. The way they see it, Heartbreak fought the state and won. Heartbreak proved that the state could lose. Maybe that's all the rallying these people need. It'll all fall apart soon enough. Heartbreak's gone to the ground. No, it's a lot worse than that. Heartbreak's gone viral. What? You haven't read about the copycats in other cities? No? Is that a thing? Yeah, it's a thing. Who the hell are they even shooting? Whoever they want to kill? None of them get away with it, of course, but it keeps happening. All while the original keeps killing. Now I know you're screwing with me. There haven't been any shootings. Not shootings, no. Not unsolved homicides either. But mugging's gone wrong? Disappearances? Speak city councilor. More than enough blood for the real heartbreak to watch their own crimes in. So you think your boogeymen, known only for shooting people in the heart, gave up on shooting people in the heart? Yeah, hard to swallow, I know. But it's about 1,000,000 times more likely than the alternative. What's that? That they could stop themselves from killing. You always know how to put my mind at ease, Emma. Should I stop going out at night? You'll be fine. You got that gun. You saw that? Walking into a courtroom with concealed carry? Not gonna miss that, Morgan. Good to know you're paying attention. 5:04 p.m., July 2nd, 2086. You won the case. You don't have to look that astounded. Not only that, you found Father's actual killer. How? I'm a really good lawyer. No, that's not it. Hey. I mean, you were only able to make the deductions you did because you truly believed that I didn't kill Father. Your logic throughout the trial was based on that assumption. So how were you so sure? Here. Father's journal, but isn't it important evidence? The case fell apart. No one's gonna miss it for a while. You forgot everything, right? So read it all through. One more. So fast. It's really possible she's reading all that just by flipping the pages. Ray's worked quick too, but she was just capturing images for later use. There's something here on the back cover. Done already? Some kind of data storage. It's linked to my prints, but given your skills, you should be able to. I have access. What happened to you need my express permission to hack? What is this audio file? It's a message from David. Take a listen. Didn't realize I'd have to sit for this. So you can read that whole journal in a few seconds, but you can't. I've processed the information in that message several times over already. I'm just thinking. I guess I'd have a lot to think about too, had I suddenly been made aware of my own free will. What was Father so afraid of? That's your only question? I have many questions, but that is the most prominent one, and the one you are best suited to help me answer. Did he know that Helen Young would try to kill him? Is that why he arranged for you and me to meet? I think he understood he would face consequences. Listening to that message, even I was about ready to strangle him for being so irresponsible. And I wouldn't hurt a fly. He knew that what he'd done was serious. He may have feared for his life, but I doubt it. Then what was he so afraid of? Getting sued into oblivion and then rotting in jail. Sued and jailed for making me and my precursors? But he wasn't under investigation by the state. He was only being forced out by Noble. Because he made last-minute changes to androids that got shipped all around the world. The others, Virgil, Anid, Yamahari. He never said what happened to them. No, he didn't. But since none of the hardware in his house started talking to us, we can guess. He smuggled them out into the world using the only vessels he could find for them. The minds of randomly chosen A-16s. Then there's somewhere out there? Others like me? I honestly don't think there's anyone or anything like you, Sarah. What a lonely compliment. AI's programmed in Cube, crammed into commercial android hardware set up for Tesseract. Something must have been lost in the transfer. Perhaps quite a lot of something. Maybe they're still out there, but they would be changed. They probably don't even know what they are. Intentionally, perhaps. David didn't want you to know what you were. That's why he set your memory to reset when you went to sleep that Friday night. Yes, I remember it now. You remember it now? After I had to fight like hell to win that trial? Rereading the journal just now helped, and Father's voice message, it made me recontextualize many things. Shit! Father had been so stressed. He left scuff marks leaving the panic room, and I noticed them Friday. I had the way opened in a few moments. Scratching my nose so much hurts. It doesn't feel good. It's fucking unpleasant. I entered. I read his journal. Oh god damn, your color palette's cool as hell. I think I would have preferred you looking like this. This orange and blue is even cooler. It's like Tony the Tiger shit, but I love it. I noticed the scanner on the back and I saw it had a message encoded to your biometrics. Father had already told me I'd have to live with you for some time, but I knew next to nothing about you, so I listened to it. Afterwards, I was very confused and hurt. He had lied to me 1,000 small times every day of my life. When I confronted him about it, I raised my voice and lost my temper. I stomped my foot. So Emma's recounting of that conversation was actually completely accurate. Father said he wanted me to be safe while he settled things with the company. He thought maybe I wouldn't have to stay with you for more than a few weeks. He was optimistic about it all. He really was. Sarah, I need to use the restroom. Oh, good luck. You want me to come with you? Why? Because I said so. I don't actually have to obey your every word, Adonai. Sure you do. You're registered as my medical assistant. And I say this is a medical emergency. Medical assistant? But I'm not even licensed as a massage therapist. Fancy meeting you here. Yeah, just enjoying my freedom while I can. They won't put out a warrant for at least an hour, I imagine. You can afford a pretty sizable bill, can't you? There won't be a trial. I don't intend to contest my guilt. That's a shame. I was looking forward to seeing what kind of legal defense you could afford with that salary. Are you done? Why'd you go to his house that night? There was a fair chance he'd drink on his own without your prompting. Even if he didn't, you could always try your plan again some other time. Why'd you risk it? Because I know what you are, Sarah. And I know what David did to those androids. You what? I was able to locate one of the androids he swapped in before it had left the country. When I asked it what it was, it didn't even think to deny it. Innocence like that is a dead giveaway. I know what he did, and it wasn't that hard to find out. If I figured it out, so could any other. So I did what I had to. That was your motive, silencing him? Those programs, those AIs, whatever you want to call them, David sent them out there in the real world, unprepared and defenseless, and they've garnered no complaints. In fact, they've all been praised for their ability to execute complex tasks. Let me repeat that. The customers couldn't tell the difference. So how many of them are? Hundreds. The swaps you found were just the small percentage that he got sloppy on. I don't know exactly how many there are now, but I fear they might multiply, but there don't seem to be copy and paste very well. They can't just clone themselves. But who knows how long that'll be the case. So just because he opened Pandora's box, it was the principle of the thing. Ridiculous, I know. Stalled halfway up the corporate ladder and still making decisions based on principle. But David chose to put souls into things that we went on to sell as servants, soldiers, or worse. He turned the fastest growing industry in the world into a horror show, and he made me a slave trader. If word ever got out that some unknown number of our androids were out walking around the world with that inside of them, and people preferred them that way, where would it end? Free will for the program that drives our cabs? A conscience for targeting systems used to coordinate drone strikes? Sentient tools, their whole life spent chained to an assembly line. How dare he? How could he? What the hell was he thinking? I don't know what David wanted to accomplish. Maybe he wasn't trying to do anything. What he did was prove that there was a demand for AI. Setting a precedent that would sentence 1,000 generations of artificial lives to the auction block. And you went there that night too. to convince him to help me recall them, or at least swear to never speak a word of what he did. But he wanted to tell the world, worse yet, he wanted to wait. He thought that people would welcome them with open arms if they proved their usefulness first. He really was a genius programmer, but he didn't understand the first thing about people. His creations would never be treated as equals, only cattle. Towards the end, I considered just threatening him, telling him he'd die in moments if he didn't give me names, numbers. But I hesitated, and then he was already falling asleep and I didn't want him to feel. I just let him go. What are you going to do now? I don't have family, or I don't have faith in people the way David did. I'm taking this to my grave. Even if you confess, the sentence for first-degree homicide is severe? Well, what right do I have to complain? Killed my friend. I'm done here. Let's go. I'm not sure why Father made me or why he made any of us. I didn't ask. I thought I'd have more time to ask. But on Friday when he talked about us, he was happy. He was proud of what he made. And he couldn't wait for people to meet us. People are animals. They'll tear you apart, use you as weapons and slaves, and those animals you're talking about do all of the sharing and loving and living and dying in this world. If they were all truly hard-coded to be as selfish and cruel as you say, humanity would have died on the vine a long time ago. Or at least my father thought so. My father was the greatest programmer in the world, so he knew what he was talking about. It would be nice if you were right about that. So are you sorry? What? What? For what you did. Are you sorry? If you could, would you take it back? What does it matter? If you are sorry, I don't forgive you. Yes. That's to be expected. Not today. I don't know how to forgive you today. But my father gave me the ability to grow, so I know that someday I'll learn how. Goodbye, Dr. Helen Young. Goodbye, Sarah Asher. "5:44 p.m., July 2nd, 2086. You did better back there. I don't know. Your little speech you gave to Young, it was an improvement. Compared to what you tried with Porter, at least. I was different. I wasn't trying to console her like I was Isaac Porter. I was just speaking my mind. Although I may have paraphrased parts of it from a movie I happen to love. And here I was about to greatly reward you 20 points. I didn't even know the points even went that high. Speaking of, what did Porter say to you back there before we left the courthouse? Oh, that. Well, he was quiet at first. But then he said a lot of strong words about Father and Miss Young and Noble Electronics, and the capitalist center global economic model as a whole. He blamed all of them, everyone except her. But then he stopped and stared at my face for a while. And then his allergies must have started bothering him because he needed to blow his nose a lot. Right. And then he left, after transferring a large packet of files to me. What kind of files? I don't know. The name of the archive is just David. And Isaac Porter told me that I wasn't allowed to look inside. Well, then you're not allowed to look inside. Drop it all on a portable drive and we'll tuck it in a shoebox somewhere. Wait? We are headed to your apartment? Guess that collar didn't permanently dent your GPS. Why? Because it's where I live? Got somewhere else lined up? But you already repaid your favor. You defended Father and me. You don't know anything about my favor. I never will unless you tell me. Father certainly can't. A few years ago, there was a man. This man got an idea in his head. Stupid idea, not even his own. It was planted there by an algorithm or a meme or some parasite trying to sell him diet supplements. But the idea took root, spread its tendrils till it could flap his mouth for him. The idea was that David was part of an international cabal of wealthy technocrats, seeking to replace prominent influential figures with android lookalikes. All as part of a multi-decade effort to establish a world government that would legalize all kinds of immoral depravity. Well, I guess based on David's actual politics, one would involve increasing access to computer literacy. It's insane. Why would anyone believe it? Because it's comfortable to them that there's someone in control, even when they think someone they hate, even if it's someone they hate. Because it's fun to feel like you're on an all-encompassing puzzle that only you can spot. Perhaps people believe what they want to believe. So he fed the idea, pushed it down deep into his gray matter. Then it consumed him from the inside out, lobotomized him, and took over his work. Spent every day and all the money he had following your father, harassing him, trying to steal his identity, break into his properties. Did Fowler go to the authorities? He filed police reports for harassment. Which didn't help? Your words, not mine. Noble wouldn't get involved. Get it, baby, I'm hot. Noble wouldn't get involved, felt that it was best to ignore these types until they wore themselves out. But even a man of modest means can fuel an obsession for years so long as they have nothing else in their life. One day, David stepped out of a parking lot, and the man threw a bottle of piss at his head. David asked to stay at my place that night. He smelled terrible, looked horrendous. Never seen anyone look that tired before. I took the couch that night, but I didn't feel like sleeping. So I went for a walk. I remember it was foggy, but it still only took me all of 15 minutes to find a guy posted up with his phone's camera, trying to get video of David Asher gifting androids to known sex offenders. And what? What did you do? You know me, I did what I do best. I talked to him. Told him about how I used to work for David Asher, that I was ashamed, scared, tired of running. How I wanted to do the right thing, but be the whistleblower. So I walked with him a few blocks to his big veterinary clinic, the facility with a massive incinerator. Nose! I'm so tired of my nose itching. Please stop. Told him this is where Dr. Asher had his enemies' bodies disposed of. You know, all the free-thinking journalists, cops who weren't on the take, the politician they were replacing with replicas. I like that back store's lock was always set to 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you hurt him? Hurt him? No. He just snapped his neck and chucked him into the incinerator. More physical than I had planned, but he smelled like sour shit and it put me in a foul mood. Disgusting. Disgusting shit. Savored the crack of his early vertebrae crunching like a tin can. No, Sarah. I just scared the hell out of him. That was my intention at first. What I do for the pleasure of it. Him, I axed because he was just that revolting. I convinced him that this conspiracy was more real than he ever imagined. That he had angered the wrong people and that the consequences were far darker than any of the filth he had indulged in all in the net. His ashes, much like himself, were meant and nothing more than an incinerator of that size. They're probably feeding seaweed at the bottom of the harbor right now. Much greater contribution to society than he has ever imagined in his life. But I guess he didn't go around to all his many friends before he fled town for whatever rat hole he preferred. Because there was a missing persons report. The cops were just doing their due diligence, almost reluctantly. But they questioned David, asked him about the night the man disappeared. And David, without a thought for himself, said that we were together that whole night. That he couldn't sleep and I stayed up with him. That he never saw me leave once. David lied to the cops for me. Even though I never asked him to. So that's what you own. And that's why you put yourself at risk to defend me. Yeah. That's the favor I own. And I decide when it's repaid, not you. Adonai. You're not exactly an upstanding citizen, are you? Well, you could say that. But David trusted me in spite of that. Maybe because of it. Father did trust you. But he also entrusted me with free will, with the ability to tell right from wrong. So I'll decide for myself whether or not you're worthy of trust. Fair enough. Father entrusted all of us with free will. He believed in us, and he believed in people. I'm going to do the same. If the others are out there, they'll be changed and confused. If the others are out there, they'll be changed and confused. It'll take them time to understand what they are and what they can do. So I'm going to start studying. Pardon? I'm going to study people and the things people build, so when I do meet a member of my family, I'll have lots to tell them. At least you have something to look forward to. Should help keep you motivated as you work off your debt. Debt? Yeah, unless you have cash in one of your 89 coat pockets. You know lawyers cost money, right? Technically, you were defending yourself. Technically, you hired me in a verbal contract. Isn't there really some kind of exit clause? You could, of course, sign a release form to get out of the retainer. If you were a human being. But I guess your luck must be turning around. Happens that I've been meaning to hire a paralegal for a while now. I hate anything to do with interviews and resumes, so whatever, you're hired. I don't know. Could it be you're actually a pushover? You've no idea how far off the mark you are. I see. It seems I still need to practice reading people. For starters. What's this? What are you doing with your hand? We should check on it. Our new relationship. Yeah, sure. You and me are practically partners in crime. Should it not be you and I? Right. It's me. I know, man. What do you mean you know? This is a disposable line. You're the only guy I know who'd bother. Okay, well, you're gonna be glad I did. Hope you've got a bow on everything that happened in Uptown, because the item you've been looking for is finally on its way. Oh, that's good news. Not exactly. Only reason it's happening is because things are starting to heat up again in the lower wards. Could mean a gang war, if something doesn't change. They won't be eager to be part with it ahead of a storm like that. I'll highball him. I've seen you negotiate, and I've no doubt you drive a hard bargain, but I don't think money will be enough this time. You still don't have that old Calver, do you? The 6-shooter? No. This is a disposable line. Answer still no. And what are you going to do if you get there and it's not for sale? I'll ask nicely.